grab this link.
I'm refreshing the page.
Is it working?
I think so. Yes, sir, it is. Sweet. I'm going to make a tweet real quick. Can I call it the Joe Show?
Yeah. There we go. Yep, I'll get this out. And the first minute, just like the first minute of Spaces, it's very awkward.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like Spaces has actually given me a lot of tools for making any kind of like online conference or call or anything less awkward. Like, it's just you used to it. First couple minutes, you let people trickle in, you bullshit. Like, it's all the same.
For me, Spaces, when I first joined Twitter like a year ago, I said, whoa, this is an outstanding feature that is better than anything else on any other social media platform, because it's basically a startup podcast, and it's interactive,
Yeah.
and it's podcast light, right? It's people that can practice podcasting without needing to commit to a podcast, and Twitter takes care of the rest. So there's that.
Did you know about Clubhouse? It's
Vaguely,
funny, like Twitter completely stole the idea from another app that was trying to
but it died,
basically
right?
well, they were trying to be a dedicated like Twitter Spaces. Basically, that was their whole thing. So someone at Twitter just saw like, oh god, we can implement this, and then we have everything else that we have plus this, and yeah, Clubhouse pretty much died out.
Clubhouse is, I mean, it's a good idea, but it's better if it's built on top of something that already has its own user base, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, even, or anything that has group chats, right? WhatsApp, something like that could benefit. I'm sure there are some huge WhatsApp group chats. Even something like that will probably exist on every platform. It's just that Twitter, I think, has an edge. Twitter is it's like the only platform where you could like DM the CEO of a company and possibly get a response.
Yep.
It's really, when I first played around with that, I was like, Twitter was my number one stock holding until the buyout, because I was like, you know what, this is undervalued. It's valued less than Snapchat, and like Snapchat.
Well, now we know why their finances, as awesome as it is, like, but yeah,
Turns out they had 5 times as many employees as they need. Who knew? So
yeah, that's a whole other thing that I could get into. We don't want
yeah.
to.
Well, we could start. People will catch the beginning of this in the replay for sure.
Yeah.
I could bring up Interchain Info, and I actually want to compare it to the actual Cosmos homepage, which is where a lot of this stuff that you put together should have been originally put in place. So Interchain Info, I would consider it to be not only an an onboarding tool, but kind of a dashboard for people that are interacting with all the different Cosmos chains applications, on a daily basis. How else would you categorize it?
No, I think that's perfect. The only thing I'd add is like at this point, we don't have the tooling side of things. That's coming soon. It's what we're doing a funding campaign now for. So, like I'd say Interchain Info has kind of three parts to it. Two of them focused on learning and one focused on doing. So we have the Interchain Index, which is very much just like a Wikipedia of the Cosmos. So pages on everyone from Joe and his channel here to the Cosmos Hub to validators. Then we have the Resource Hub, which is an aggregator of content from across the rest of the web that people like Joe here would make. So Medium articles, videos, podcasts, Twitter spaces, all that stuff will be in one place, organized, categorized, and integrated with the index. And so we have those built. Still a lot of polish to be done, but they're live in the open beta right now to play with and kind of get the feel for. And then our next big step is the third part of the site, the dashboard, which is exactly what you said. It is a customizable sort of home base for cosmonauts to be able to have a one-stop shop for interacting with various chains, DApps, tools, off-chain and on. So like Hubble tools, for example, I don't think it doesn't have to be on chain. I think there might be elements you can connect your wallet for, but the base functionality is just a really cool Web 2 tool. that most new users to the Cosmos don't know about. So not only will this dashboard allow people like yourself and me to just be power users and have all of our stuff in one place, it'll also let new users discover these things in the first place.
Yeah, and this is a good time to roll this out. Like you know, you're not going to get too many new people. Just it's a terrible time for
Yeah,
onboarding
yeah,
crypto users, but at least it'll be there, and it will possibly turn someone into a power user. Someone who thinks it's overwhelming to manage all their tokens on all these different chains, or just find info, because I think Cosmos is so decentralized that it's fragmented to the point where it will take you a day to find something you need and actually complete an action that should otherwise be a couple of minutes of your time, and that's it. And we could I want to look at the Cosmos website, which has almost no information on it whatsoever. You have to really
yeah.
hunt.
I'm looking now, and it's
It's,
like they have a really long list. That's cool,
that's
but
what I'm saying. It says like, oh, Cosmos ecosystem, the home of 268 apps. Okay, and then what? What
yeah,
kind of apps? Where are they? Are they all functional? Are they coming? It's I've been researching Polkadot and Cosmos side by side, and I think Cosmos. I'm biased, but I think Cosmos has it figured out. I think there are definitely some flaws that need to get fixed in 2023, but Polkadot, to me, just the way it's set up, the way the websites are, the way the documents are, that looks like something that a traditional investor would look at
yes,
and ape in, whether it
yep,
be, oh, I want everyone in my family to give me $10,000 and I'm just going to buy some dot tokens and keep them in a wallet for them. Or maybe regulation clears up some of the confusion around DeFi, securities laws, and what different fungible tokens. And maybe fund managers are allowed to have a certain percent of you know, their customers' holdings in non-Bitcoin, non-Ethereum assets. If you go to the Cosmos ecosystem website, it looks like it's not even launched yet. And
mm,
and
yeah,
and that's not Cosmos's fault. Almost every blockchain's website looks like that. It looks
yeah,
like an incomplete website. It's like these guys are fantastic at building smart contracts and all this fancy code, and then the front end is done last. Someone like me, that's a huge turnoff and possibly a red flag if that's how the website's been for 2 years. Like, well, what are they doing? You can't put some info here. Like, why can't some names come up on the front page? Why can't I see the structure of who's building on here? So
yeah,
that your site that we'll look at in a couple seconds, it's more definitely community oriented, but also some of the you know I would say validators and devs will probably find it useful as well.
yeah, yeah. And also, like, so the first thing I'll just say is like kind of out in the open for anyone who might look at Interchain Info and think this. We already think that we totally know there is some work to do bringing it up to snuff as far as just UI and branding to where an investor could come and look at it and be as impressed as we'd like. So we have an entire like site-wide UI and branding refresh already in the works. So that is on the horizon for anyone who looks at the website and thinks it looks just a bit dated or amateur. That is definitely a product of it being in beta. We're well aware, and like we're definitely thinking of all that stuff because every bit of the site for something like this is important. Like just functionality might be the core thing, but we want users to be happy to be there using it. We want pleasant to look at, impressive upon first impression, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, it's true. And now that you have all this stuff in one place, right? What most people don't know, and these are the people that I'm guessing you have in mind when you build something like this, most people do not know that Cosmos doesn't really have any dApps deployed on it. It is the
Yeah,
it is the hub for whatever it is, 57 other blockchains that do have dApps built on top of them. Some of them are dApp chains, some of them are not. But I know people that have the Atom token. They don't even know why they have it. They're like, oh, Atom, it's good. Internet of blockchains, high staking yield, OG token. And then beyond that, I mean,
yeah,
that's not going to cut it, I don't think, a year or two from now when there's more competition and there are more interoperable blockchains that can claim the same narrative, even though it's a nice narrative. It's going to be a shared narrative in the next bull cycle for sure, no matter when it comes.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Like,
It's going to be, every blockchain is going to try to steal that narrative, and
yeah,
it there needs to be a place for people to, like I was trying to do last week. I tried to put Cosmos and Polkadot side by side. Cosmos's documents are really technical. They're meant to onboard devs, it looks like, and
yes.
validators, and it's not meant for the person who maybe they're already maxing their 401k and they want to dabble in crypto, and they're getting kicked off centralized exchanges for whatever reason, or
So yeah, so that's
even just to buy and have it on a centralized exchange while you continue learning. There's nothing
right.
wrong with that as well. So
Yeah, like that's an area we actually do want to tackle that I'm not sure people are aware is on our roadmap. So, like right now, we're very much so a hosting platform and an aggregator of content. A lot of the info will be community sustained and submitted. But we absolutely plan to create some stuff later down the road that is more curated. And for example, could hold someone's hand through onboarding, or some of our own docs that go into just like if you need a first time overview of just like what is Cosmos, I'm brand new. So
yeah.
we do have a lot of stuff like that in the works, both that we want to do and that we want to collaborate on with other content creators like yourself, and just create some more focused, curated content for really making it easy to understand and get into.
Here's the other thing about having the information fragmented that people don't realize, because they're in, if you're hanging around now in this bear market where the token prices are awful, you likely know where to dig to find things.
Yes.
And you don't realize how hard it is for other people. Think about how hard it is to find out about an NFT project. You have to be following a lot of accounts and get lucky to find out about a mint. Um, let's say a blockchain like Archway, right? We mentioned Archway to each other in passing today. They built that Area 52 platform where you can learn how to code through a game, right?
Yep.
Who's going to find that if they don't already know about Archway? But
Exactly.
but
Perfect. Exact.
you
Yeah.
have Interchain Info. Now it's here. People can play around with it without knowing what Archway even is, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the trick. There needs to be some, I want to just call it's contact with something crypto. They don't need to even know that it's related to a blockchain. People are going to find Interchain Info not realizing right away that it's crypto, like, oh, cool, here's a game dashboard. Oh, here's some applications. They don't need to know that they're on a blockchain just yet. And then they can mess around. Oh, NFTs, I heard about these. It's all here. And a couple clicks. And now I'm learning on my own. I don't need to
Yeah.
do that. I had a really hard time in like 2017, 2018 finding anything. And the best I could do was watch like Andreas Antonopoulos speeches that were an hour long, but they would take me like 3 or 4 days to get through because I was
Right.
constantly rewatching it. That can't happen anymore. And then like Crypto Dad, here's how to use your ledger. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, I don't even have a ledger, and I don't know where to get one. So this is going to streamline things, and you could also take advantage of some of the other resources out there that other people built that were trying to do the same thing. Don't you think?
No, exactly. So, like, Area 51 is a phenomenal example. Like, that's the sort of platform where, hopefully, we're going to make it easier for people to find by making it so someone could just type in, like, um, tutorial or what might someone search, like onboarding guide, that sort of thing, and Area 51 will come up in our search. But also integrate them further. So like Area 1 in particular, I think that Area 51, they are doing some really awesome stuff. So once we have a little bit more bandwidth and are through some of the core of our um, like to-do list that we're already tackling, we want sorry, I just got a Discord message that threw me off. Shit, there's so much going on in my life. Just got something exciting. Where was I going? My train of thought just went elsewhere.
Area 51,
Yeah,
yada yada.
integrate them in a tighter way so that aside from just
Yeah.
having a page on them, we could help direct new users onto that platform and make it feel either integrated with or like kind of vouched for by Interchain Info. So we'll have pages on a ton of things, right? Some things we won't necessarily vouch for, but we can work with closer integration with people doing helpful and educational based stuff to direct users there with confidence.
Yep. But you want to go through the site really quick? Like, this is the home. This is the
Yeah.
landing page. Where do you want me to go from here?
Let's just type in like Juno. So
Okay.
let's say you're kind of new to Cosmos. Maybe you've got some Atom on Coinbase. You made a Twitter account, and one of the first places that people have directed you to get more info about stuff is Interchain Info. Um, so yeah, so okay, so this is actually, if you want to go back real quick, this is some feedback we've gotten that I'd love people to chime in on. So right now, yeah, the buttons, some people thought they worked the way you did. So you type in something and then you click on what you want to search. So we might change the UX there to make it more clear. Basically, if you want to just search Juno in the search bar and then like hit enter or click the search thing, you'll come to a search page where you can then filter between searching the index and the resources, or you can click on the buttons like you did. If you're not searching for anything in particular, you just want to browse. So let's say you don't even know about Juno,
Oh, so
right?
you're just
Let's
saying
say,
just hit enter, just like a Google search.
yeah. And then
Got
you'll see in the top left corner there, you can like filter between searching the index or searching articles and resources.
Perfect. And how are these articles and resources chosen? Are they just the most recent ones that come up? Do you have deals
Yeah.
to like feature certain content creators?
Yeah, so kind of two answers there. So what you're seeing on the right side there in that little module is just a glimpse into the first two results that would come up if you searched our articles for resources. So actually, in the bottom right there, if you click see more, it's the exact thing, same thing as clicking resources in the top left to
Got it.
change like what you're sorting by.
Okay.
Now, the purple star, that's something. So we had to refine like how we wanted to do this, because right now when you look at a category, let's head over to like the core of click on ecosystems, for example.
This one right here.
So we'll
Okay.
get a look at all of the different
Oh,
ecosystems.
this is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so we wanted to list them alphabetically because we think that makes sense for something like an index or a wiki, right?
Right.
But then we realized, we're targeting new users, and if someone's on like the a DEX category. Right now we're on the ecosystem one, but let's just say the fact that osmosis isn't even on the front page because it starts with O is not a great user experience. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're a fan of osmosis or not. It
You're right.
is the most liquid DEX in the cosmos. We need to put that on new users' radar.
Right. And someone who knows the ecosystem, you're going to go looking for osmosis anyway. But for someone who doesn't
Yeah,
know any better, they're literally going to click here and they're going to be like, oh, let me click. I don't know. I'll click Evmos. It's at the top.
right.
That must be the place where the dexes are in Cosmos, right? So it's
Exactly.
yeah,
So, like right now, the way we're doing it is we just manually assigned this promoted status, which gives it the purple star, to sort of blue chip projects slash ones that just have stuff going on in them. So it's not that we don't love Agoric and Archway, for example. It's just right now they don't have an ecosystem yet, so it's not like pressing to promote them to new users. Later down the road, though, this is going to be a paid system. So, if you want your project to be at the top of these lists and promoted and be like a blue chip thing, we feel you should be supporting Interchain Info anyways. And so you'll be able to do like a payment program with us to get this featured status. Now, here's where a little bit of trust comes in, because trust is not disappearing. I know we're in a trustless landscape, but it's how humans work. Uh, you're going to kind of just have to trust us in that we're also going to do some curation. So an obviously scammy project could come to us and offer us a shit ton of money, and we're going to say, no, we're not promoting you to our users, right? So there will be a balance between a set system with rules and prices, that sort of thing, and a bit of us trying to look out for our community, which down the line, we will look to decentralize with a DAO or something. But right now, it's far more, reasonable to have a polished product if we retain some centralized control.
Of course. And the way that I see this, just this page alone is you could have maybe 4 large buttons here as like premium
Yeah,
location on the page. Maybe in the beginning you're going to kind of choose the projects, but then when you monitor, it's almost like how the phone book used to be, right? You could have half page ads, you could have quarter page ads, or you could
exactly.
just be like a footnote in the phone book for almost nothing. And I think that's reasonable as well. I
And
definitely
for
don't think a DAO is needed to get this off the ground.
Yeah, yeah. And for transparency's sake, obviously, when we move to that model, this purple star will be replaced with something more telling. So it'll maybe be some small font that says promoted or featured or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
people
that's
know. Yeah.
definitely fair. Now someone's going to put in the comments, "What's a phone book?" You know,
You mean my contacts list on
yeah,
my phone?
phone book was
My
this thing
contacts app?
that you used to sit on at the dinner table when you were little, so you could be the same height as. But no, I mean the way the phone book worked, where you would just they would
It's
basically
a directory.
they would
Yeah.
call businesses, say, "Hey, do you want to be in the phone book?" What are they going to say? No. And then, okay,
Yep.
you want to be in the phone book? Well, here are packages. You could have a whole page add in the phone book, or you could share the page with, we could fit, I don't know, 24 different listings on one page, and then it was priced accordingly. I think that you should be able to
And
do that for
you know
content
what's
creators.
cool too is like that's a perfect example of one of the things where Web3 and blockchain doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. It can just improve it. So
Absolutely.
like that same system works. It doesn't need to be replaced. But now you can add features such as, what, I can be sure that this project isn't getting a way better rate than me. I can be sure I'm not being overcharged because I can look on the blockchain. Everyone's playing by the
Yeah.
rules.
And like
Yeah.
I see you mentioned Hubble Tools earlier. For people that don't know, Hubble Tools is like a data analytics page for NFTs on in
Hmm.
Cosmos. Stargaze's NFTs. You could look up all the projects, price action and all that, and like volume. If I was minting an NFT collection, I would say, okay, Hubble Tools, I want to buy um space on your site so that my project is seen as a promotion, and I'll pay you, and I want it to come up on Hubble.tools. I mean, I don't see enough ads when I go to these pages, and I'm always wondering how they're monetizing this. And
So I love that you said that, actually. If you want to click on just index, either of the two places on the page, and then go to the NFT section.
here,
So, yeah. So, like I said, the whole site is getting a bit of a facelift and some UI, but one like additional UI element we want to add is like a sidebar type module or something for now minting or upcoming or things like that, and do this sort of thing. So a project wants to get some extra exposure, they can make it known for anyone who's browsing NFTs on Interchain that their project's the one you should focus on right now.
absolutely, and it doesn't make sense to not advertise and to automatically think that all the people you need to know about you is following your Twitter. Even if you're
Right.
following, I don't see everyone's tweets. I miss a lot of mints, and I'm actively trying to stay on top of NFTs, and I think it makes perfect sense, right? And projects that, let's say they do a Spaces or they do a Twitter promo, they should also be directing people to sites like this where they've paid for advertising, right? And or at least paid for premium. I would call it like a premium visibility on a an information hub like this.
Yeah. No, I think like there's a lot of opportunities for us to make like a sustainable revenue in sort of traditional senses like that, while doing it in a way that's beneficial to both the community and the projects taking part in those like systems. Like I really think it can be a win-win if we get this right, just
Oh
across
yeah,
the board.
I agree. I agree, and it could be sustainable as well. Can we let's talk about getting it off the ground, because obviously this is it looks like a monumental task. Like if layer ones can't even get information on their website, but you manage to get all the info from every layer one onto one website. You've been working on this for like a year.
Yeah. Well, so the seed of an idea has maybe been around that long. Like since we started Spark, we I think like actually we bought like the domain for Interchain like pretty long ago and that sort of thing. But I'd say it wasn't until Oh, how am I sounding? I just saw a little message about my connection.
Yeah, you're buzzing in and out, but that's okay if you want to.
Does it sound like a internet thing or a mic thing?
I think it was a mic thing, but I think you're good now. You just moved your mic. You're
Yep.
perfect.
Cool. So to do what were we
You
just
still talking
on?
about you bought the domain? You bought the
Yeah, how long
domain
we've
name a
been.
while.
Yeah, so like this has kind of been one of the ideas we wanted to do as Spark since the beginning. The idea to roll it off into a separate thing kind of came later. We thought this might be like an info page on Spark at first until we realized the true like potential scope of it. And it really kind of came to life when my now like co-partner in Interchain, Ed, who runs the Airdrops One account and ran a couple validators before under the Steady Crypto moniker, he was in a spaces of mine when I was talking about the seed of an idea for Interchain Info. And like, massive shout out to him. I can't illustrate how much of this is only possible because of him. He just shot me a DM and said, listen, I run like I'm the head of a Web2 development company with like over 100 employees. I love what your idea for Interchain. I think it's important. I think it's worth doing. Like, I'm willing to help give you some legwork to get it done. So we worked together for a while. He basically put like his employees who are on payroll onto like help building out my dream here for Interchain. And so at one point we were just like, yep, we're totally in on this together. Let's go full on. So at this point, I totally consider it a 50-50 venture between Ed and myself. We've merged like the validator side of it. So before he was validating under Steady Crypto, those are all Spark branded validators now. Airdrops One is now like one of two, soon to be more ventures that Spark oversees. So we have Interchain Info and Airdrops. And it's just really cool. And so that's maybe been going on for the past like half a year or so that I've been building with Ed and planning and getting this all ready. And then another huge shout out to Grits. Grits put together like 400 of the initial entries that are on Interchain Info for the index. Like, so impressive. So huge shout out there.
No, that's really cool. And I know Airdrops One was trying to do something similar, focused on airdrops. Cosmos Pug has charts for Juno ecosystem. Cosmos
Yep.
Coffee House has a pretty nice hub with all these different, resources for anybody to use. But I know it's a lot to maintain because I know he's always like, oh, I got to update soon. I don't have time to fix up my website. It takes a long time to add things. Can you leverage some of what's already out there in a way that doesn't divert traffic away from your own site?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So
And
like
the other one is
Cosmos Pug.
Curious Cosmonaut Research is another one who's 200 articles on the ecosystem. So
Yeah. So it's obviously a case by case basis type of thing. But like Cosmos Pug, for example, he should have a dedicated module on our dashboard for people that trade Juno tokens all the time and want those charts and some of the other things he offers. Not sure what's going on with my mic. I apologize about that. Let me try the good old fashioned just wiggle the connection. Give me like 2 seconds.
On my end, it's showing that your internet connection is fine on my end. So it's probably just like a. But there is a question in the meantime from Coin Waters. Says there should be a place for new chains that doesn't compete with established ones for ad spend. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe chains that just enabled IBC in the last 3 months or the last 6 months. And
yeah,
that could be a nice place. That could be a nice place to highlight chains, consumer chains, new IBC chains, established chains, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. Like, we could do one of two things with that. Either like later down the road when there's tons of new chains being thrown up all the time, we could have a section that's like dedicated to new chains and just they're all in there, but then you can pay for like the featured purple star type thing to be at the top. Or we could go the route of like having certain ad spots on Interchain Info on existing pages that are just reserved for new chains. So like just one that's always like almost to the point where it doesn't feel like an ad. It's just a part of the site where whenever you pass it, it's a glimpse into like what's the new hot thing in the cosmos right now.
Yeah, I mean, even like anything within the last 90 days that's enabled IBC to me is a new chain.
Totally.
It doesn't matter how long they've been running the blockchain. I feel like enabling IBC is like the birthday, and then now they're brand new again. Even if Binance somehow does it, they're gonna be on a new chain on Interchain Info. But no, I agree. That's a great point, because there are people. Hey, it's a good place for content creators to go searching for ideas. Then,
yeah, I think like where we'll really take off is once we can be recognized and have the opportunity to integrate with entities like Mint Scan, staking rewards, whatever, like Interchain Foundation. Like how cool would it be if, as part of the Cosmos SDK, maybe just like in the README or something, or there's something that calls out like after you spin up a new chain, make sure to add it to the Interchain Info registry to be added to the ecosystem list, like something like that, right? Just integration that sort of legitimizes us, but also puts us front and center, makes us the canonical place to go, and enables, like, to use DeFi terms, what we're going for is like deep liquidity of information. like we want that's where it's most effective, right? If you have one site where you can learn everything and not have to bop around Google.
It's right. You shouldn't have to bop around Google. You should be able. Oh, there's a new chain. I should be able to click. Okay, here's the white paper. Here's their Medium. Here's their Discord. Here are their founders, and here are some of the apps that are building on the chain. It's got to be on one place. And I want to bring up the Cosmos Hub website, not to knock what's there, but just to show that this the way most blockchain websites are, they assume so much prior knowledge and so much prior familiarity. Like, I should, if it's an applications website, I know the button's going to be in the top right to connect my wallet. That's a little bit different. But with this, like, where do I gotta go? Welcome to Cosmos, the internet of blockchains. Is this a game? Right? Oh,
good point. It's very pretty.
Is this an
but
application?
It's not. Yeah.
Is it? This is an awesome website. But where? Okay, here. Learn introduction. I read this the other day. Okay, it kind of says that on the front page too. And now it's throwing IBC in my face. If I'm someone like my dad, maybe, like I said, someone like that needs to be able to at least get around a little bit and at least know what questions to ask before they get deterred or completely flipped upside down, And I went through Cosmos's stuff, and to me, it looks like the documents are written for developers or people who are maybe they're trying to attract developers from other ecosystems here, which is cool. That I think that's really awesome. But when I look at if I look at Polkadot's documents, it just looks more just
so
traditional finance. And I mean,
like, what I think the game plan kind of was from them? I think the idea that was also a great question from Lolaboo. Yeah, I can touch on that.
Look at that meta rat right there.
Yeah, right? Throwback. My first NFT mint.
That's a cool one. You had your meta rat for a long time and you gave up on it.
Hell yeah. Still have it. But yeah.
Nothing else to do with it.
I think Cosmos's game plan was attract developers and make a really, really efficient and diverse and like secure software set on the tech side of dev stuff that plays into how their documents are laid out, how they talk about things on this. And they were also like, let's hold off on doing some of the more typical business management and oversight and the stuff that like Avalabs does, like you were talking about earlier. And I think both of these things kind of go together with this hope that was Web3 is all about decentralization and people doing grassroots stuff. So if we can attract the core devs and provide the underlying technology, then the community will fill in the rest of the gaps. And I think the problem that we've all been talking about in Cosmos for about the past 2 months is really just that that hasn't been happening. And that is what Interchain Info is. That is me finally going, you know what? I don't know why I'm waiting for someone else to do this. I'm pretty sure Cosmos is designed with the expectation that someone like me will do it.
Yeah, and
Right?
I think what's happening is more Cosmos is expanding, and
Mm-hmm.
then the information is getting fragmented inadvertently just because each chain is sovereign. They feel like they need their own hub, obviously, for information. But if it can be in one place, it could be standardized. Like every page looks the same, no matter what blockchain or what app I'm trying to research. It's got to be really easy on the eyes for the non-tech person, because the tech people are already gonna know how to get around because they've been through Ethereum, they've been through one of the other ecosystems. Like you could find your way around. But like here's another Cosmos page, right? Build. Where is it? Where is it? Where is
Hey,
it?
actually, wait. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna just plug in a different mic.
Your mic's working now. But
It is?
here, yeah, but here, 266
Okay.
apps. Okay. Are these apps, are these blockchains? Like
Yeah.
it's
Nope.
really
Some of them are validators or like
right.
coins. Like Ion is on here. That's not helpful for a new user. Spark isn't on here. Interchain Info isn't on here. And I have to say that's probably our fault. I think it's a public repository. We probably need to go push that. But it's weird, right?
I feel like map of zones, like a modified version of map of zones would be helpful on the
Yes.
landing page, right?
We would
Here's
love to work with them.
here's Cosmos, and then here's chain A, B, C, D, E. This is kind of how it works. And then there needs to be some analogy to how like a cell phone or a laptop works with the internet. Like that's kind of what
Yeah.
you need. I don't have that
And
analogy
also
off the
I
top of my
like
head, but it has to exist.
I would also love to collaborate with and help promote Map of Zones because I'm like personally kind of turned off by what MintScan did. Like everything, like you asked me earlier about Curious Cosmonaut Research, Cosmos Pug. I did an interview just earlier today with Sencom, and he talking about like Alexandria. And like my attitude is always like, let's find ways to help each other. Let's synergize. Let's integrate. Let's like build bigger together. And MintScan just took this amazing idea that Map of Zones had for visuals and just took it. Why couldn't they have integrated that and had in the corner like powered by Map of Zones, like lift everyone up together, right? So I would love to help combat that a little by integrating Map of Zones into Interchain somehow. Um, yeah. Let me know if I do need to switch my mic, but
Your
can
mic's good
we
now.
touch? Okay, cool. Can we touch on Lolaboo's question? I think that's a good,
Yeah, I'll go back to that
like,
for sure.
yeah, cool. Didn't forget about you, my fellow rat. So yeah, how do you aim to like update data? Like Wikipedia, self-update with supervision, or do you seek info, etc.? What's your system planned? Hit it on the nose there. So unlike something like Alexandria, which is another like open wiki project in the Cosmos, uh, we do have a level of supervision over it. But the way it'll work is anyone can submit a new index page or a new resource to the hub, so videos, articles, that kind of thing. And anyone can submit edits to index pages. So just like Wikipedia, these will be community maintained, project maintained, etc. We will all those submissions go into a queue that we will oversee and put through. And then going back to what I was touching on earlier, like we're the extent of what we're doing in like oversight there and reviewing those is just checking for like malicious links. Did you just delete someone else's entire page and try and push that through as an update? Are you trying to spam or blatantly false? We're not going to be doing any like curating of what's our favorite project. Do we want to let this through? Just sort of a basic level of oversight to keep the average user confident that if they click on one of the links with the Twitter icon, it's actually going to go to Twitter, right? And not just wherever.
No, it definitely makes sense. And you said your team is basically two of you, right? And then
um,
but other
no,
people
so
help.
yeah, so I'd say it's like me and Ed in a core sense, but then we have a DevOps guy who doesn't really want to be public facing. He's not too like he's not on Twitter or anything. That's fine though. He does amazing work with us. We have Cosm Watch, who is my real life best friend and co-founder of Spark, who is still like pretty involved and helps out where he can. Joseph Levington has been helping us sort of on the side on like a contract payment basis. We have the whole team under Ed, and then we have a couple people lined up to work with us on the dashboard if we get ample funding for it in our
Got
current campaign. And then tons of awesome volunteers. Like I consider Grits, like an informal part of the team for all the work he put in. A lot of the people like you who just gave us a lot of feedback in the days before we went open, that sort of thing. So we're definitely community oriented in that sense.
got it. Can we
One
can
thing
we
I'd
talk about
add,
the funding?
yes, I was going to build that into Lola Boo's question actually.
Perfect, perfect.
So right now we're, like I said, we have kind of two parts of the website built out that are Web 2 oriented. And then we have the dashboard, which is like the hub and command center, which is where a majority of the funds we're raising right now are going to go to. Getting that built out, taking on some Web 3 devs to do it. And to fund that, we are running a campaign on sparkibc.zone. So anybody can go contribute there. You need Axel USDC on Juno, and you're able to get that super easily using Rango. So wherever you might have crypto, whether it's on Ethereum or Polkadot or whatever, we provide you a Rango link to quickly turn that into Axel USDC on Juno. So when you contribute, you get Spark points, which are minted directly into your wallet and are soul bound, so you can't trade them. And they absolutely will have utility on our apps in the future. Aside from the Spark campaign, though, we're also pursuing governance based funding from community pools. And so that ties in with Lola Boo's question about like maintaining content. So right now, our rough game plan, and I'm sure you can throw a link in the description after this, we have a draft proposal on the Cosmos forums right now that is a general, we want general feedback on our plan for a multi-chain ask. So how that works is we're going to be asking for 1% of the community pool from about 20 different Cosmos chains, with that ask being capped at 20K. So for really big community pools like Luna, the Hub, Osmo, our ask will be capped at 20K, not 1% of the pool. This was the sort of best formula we could work out that seemed to make sense based on the size of all these pools, everybody sort of chipping in a way that makes sense. And so for each of those proposals, let's use Juno as an example. So if we get 20,000 from the Juno community pool, half of that is going to be reserved exclusively for going back to you guys, the Juno community. This is not us cashing something out. And the way that that's going to work is through an incentive program for Juno content on Interchain Info. So $10,000 is going to be set aside. And we have details for how you get paid, exactly how it works. That's all in the governance proposal. You would be able to come and say, submit one of Joe's videos to the resource hub and earn $5 from doing so. Or if you are Joe and you're making a brand new video from scratch, if you're willing to make that exclusive to Interchain Info for the first week of it being online, you could get up to like $50. So we're not like paying people to make content. Obviously, $50 for a YouTube video is like offensive, but it's more the idea of there are people already doing this stuff. We'd like to give them an avenue to make a little bit of extra cash doing it and help like promote and solidify Interchain Info as a hub for educational content in the same breath.
Yeah, and I think from a content creator's perspective, let's just say there was some small incentive to make a specific video. It's incentive to go a little bit extra mile to have it researched a little better, the production value a little bit better, and it just the overall quality will definitely be better. At least that's how I would look at it. But
Yeah.
you're, I did link the discussion from the Cosmos Hub governance forum in the description so people can take a look. I know that you've put it on Twitter as well, and I think that's the best place to at least let people know that it's out there. But people can comment on it. And what kind of feedback have you gotten so far? Anything specific that you worked into a revision of the prop?
Honestly, no, there hasn't been a ton There's been some good people asking clarifying questions, and when we answer those, that seems to be the end of the discussion, which I think is a good thing. I think it means we address their concern. Um, I'm also hoping overall the lack of engagement and comments means people are on board, so they just don't feel the need to call something out. But I really encourage people to get involved either way. If you like it, like make that public so people can see it has support. Just say like, yeah, this is a great idea. And if you don't like it for any reason, even if like we want to hear that, we want to revise this and get it to a place where everyone should not only like be okay voting for it and like, yeah, I guess so, but excited to do so. Like really that is our goal. We want people to see this and be like, of course we'll fund Interchain. Like hell yeah. Um,
And
so yeah.
are you going to rely on one by one? Is this going to have to go up to vote on every single chain? Is there a better
Yeah.
way to do it? So every single chain. So I mean,
So luckily
yeah,
luckily we're poor enough that we are not even financially able to put it on every chain at once because of the deposit costs. So we will be able to tackle it somewhat chain by chain. You know, we might put it on like three, monitor that, go through that process for a week or two, then move to another three, something like that.
maybe the first prop is to ask the hub for a loan to be able to have it on, you know, let's say the top 12 chains by community size
Hmm.
first, and then see what happens.
Oh, interest. Yeah.
This will never get vetoed because the way that I look at the community spending is there's basically two kinds of community spends from what I can see. Maybe other people will characterize it differently. Either the community is actually investing in something that's going to generate a return for them, or they're giving away money for some public good. That's how I look at the community spends. I don't know which one this would fall into, right?
I think both.
Maybe both. So, yes, it's an investment. However, there's not going to be really an ROI to measure
Yeah.
necessarily.
It's an
It will
indirect investment.
it will be a kind of a extrinsic value. However, it will be in the community's best interest to share this stuff, onboard people through this hub since the community is paying for it, which is what you want, I think, when there's a community spend. Um,
And also, I just want to add, it might seem like a stretch, but the more you think about it, you'll see that it really is the case where, like, something like Interchain Info succeeding is going to make all of your investments in the Cosmos, not just one chain or one token, do a lot better in the next bull cycle
oh, I
and
would
gain a
agree with
lot
that.
more mass adoption.
I
Yeah.
would agree with that. It's going to reduce friction for onboarding, and it's also going to reduce like the amount of time that's consumed by people like me. I have 99 tabs open when I want to find something out, and then I have my bookmarks saved on this computer. Then I go to my work computer, the bookmarks are not there. Now I got to open up all these tabs again. It's time consuming to jump between 50 blockchains, and that's really what
Yep.
the Cosmos ecosystem is, whether you like it or not. And oh well, I only use Osmosis. Well, there's going to be a time where you need to use more than Osmosis, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's I I think that maybe one by one you'll get vocal support from certain chains, and hopefully that will influence others. Um, have you done any lobbying efforts? I know you're lobbying the community, which is I think the best place to start for a community spend. Any other lobbying necessary, like we've seen on other props that I don't want to name? It seems to be
Uh,
there seems to be a recipe for success and a recipe
nothing
for failure
behind,
for some of
nothing
these things.
behind, nothing behind closed doors. Although so I guess like lobbying in that I've gone into a couple of the chains we're going to be pushing this through their like telegram groups, and like making it known there, asking for people to weigh in, telling them this is coming, we want feedback. So like so kind of, but like we have not yet embarked on anything like reaching out to validators on a one by one basis, saying, "Hey, what do we need from you guys to support this?" In fact, the only like person or entity I've done that with is Do Kwon, and not for his vote or TFL, but because like I think it'd be cool to have him actually behind it in terms of just something he's excited about. But aside from that, no, we haven't, and we very well might. I don't think that this is like necessarily a shady tactic. getting in touch with some of the people that do have huge sway in the ecosystem and saying like,
Yeah, I mean, there's some
I think
validators
I
that
think
run
the
like 24
difference,
chains.
yeah,
It's
the difference would be we wouldn't be going to them saying, hey, how can we make a deal so that you support this in some way or whatever? It would be, hey, we're doing this thing. We'd love your support on it. If you don't support it, tell us why, and maybe we can tweak things to get it there, like if it's in the best interest of the community.
yeah. I think that's a good way to go. You definitely have your work cut out for you, but I think
Yeah.
this looks different than a lot of the other spends, and I think this is something that is Cosmos is clearly being outcompeted in accessibility of information, especially to the newcomer to DeFi or the newcomer from Ethereum or just a newcomer in general. Cosmos is getting just their teeth kicked in. If you go look at some other ecosystems, not only do they have a figurehead and a clear business structure that you could point to and say, hey, look, this looks like the traditional business world. This makes me comfortable when I buy the tokens and I download some of
Yeah.
their stuff and connect my wallet to their apps. You go to the Cosmos website, and I love it. It looks awesome. It looks like you're on like a website you're not supposed to be on. So this is one of the things I think is necessary. Should have been done probably like 3 years ago. But the fact that it wasn't done 3 years ago, there's a chance to do it bigger and better right now with a lot of enthusiasm. It looks like from you and your team. Couple questions here if you want to look into them.
Yeah.
From Lolo Boo here, um, talking about an overview for the NFT overview would make more sense if it's related to KPIs. I guess they mean something
Yeah.
similar to what Hubble Tools is doing. I
So I
don't know
think
how
he's talking about like the NFT page we were looking at
in
earlier.
sorting, like sorting of
Yeah.
projects. I mean, yeah,
So I have some thoughts on that. This is a really good question. This lets me touch on two things. So one, just at face value, we do have some stuff coming that'll help a little bit with that. So like right now, if you go to our DeFi category or our blockchains category, you'll see that they do have subcategories. So like within blockchain, there's app chains and ecosystems. Within DeFi, there's oh yeah, cool. We can just show it.
let's go in here. Where do you want me to go?
Yeah. Head back to just the main page and then index and
Just
DeFi, or
oh, there it
either of
is.
the two top ones. Yeah. So you can see like right now we're kind of in like tablet view because your window's smaller. So at the top there's that drop down all.
Oh,
Nope, sorry, top of the list. Yeah.
this is how some people
So
actually use the internet. All right, go. Go.
so like the same way we have this, we want to make the NFT section have two subcategories, one being collections, maybe three even. So collections, tools, and marketplaces. So within there you could, so that would help a little bit with what he's saying, because then you would be able to separate just collections from something that's more applicable to what he's asking for, like Hubble tools. Two, in like a general sense, we really want to keep the index simple and like a wiki and like, alphabetical for the most part, that sort of thing. And all of the downsides that come with that, we want to remedy elsewhere. So I totally get what you're saying, Lola Boo, but our mindset is more so like, let's keep the index intuitive, simple, and just like a simple wiki and archive, but then use things like the dashboard to promote Hubble tools for people who want to sort by KPIs. And let's refine the index here so people can find those tools better. Um, yeah, I think that's like the best way to look at it is something like sorting NFTs by certain KPIs. That's more of like a interactive functional thing, and that will live on the dashboard. But we will work on integrations between. So maybe when you're on the NFT category for the index, there'll be a hot link to jump to the dashboard and use the NFT scanner, something like that.
Got it. I mean, it is a lot of information. There's probably a million ways you could organize it, and the best way might not be the same best way a year from now when there's a whole different set of applications and blockchains in the ecosystem. I'm
True,
sure.
things will
So
change.
yeah, it's going to be dynamic, and I mean, people have to get used to that, I guess. And even Stargaze has undergone a couple changes. Hubble Tools, I think, changed once at some point. Things will just be in different places, especially as you add stuff. You might have to rearrange the look of the entire page. Anything else you want to say about the initial funding? do you have a plan? Let's just say ideally, you 1% of the community pools, it gets you where you need to go. Going forward, can you keep this sustainable? Doing things like what we discussed earlier, selling premium, you know, visibility spots on the pages, ads for projects and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we're pretty confident because between things like validating, which hopefully, if we pick up enough traction here, some of our validators will not run at a loss the way they all do right now. So that's like a good trickle. Also, the campaign on Spark right now for Interchain, even though we will eventually stop promoting that on the Spark website, just like with the TerraSpaces one, it will be open indefinitely. And just like Wikipedia, here on Interchain, we might subtly bug you in the corner somewhere to contribute and support us. Then some of the revenue models we talked about, like ad space and promotion and whatnot. Um, yeah, there's a couple avenues we can explore that we think makes sense. There's also just more avenues to explore in that sense in the Web3 world than the traditional one. And so we're looking to kind of make use of some of those things like staking, right? Or something like what Tank was trying to do, right? Let's ever say we got to a point down the road where we were kind of hurting for funds. We could almost ask for loans from the community pool saying, we no longer need lump sum where we have our feet under us. This bear market's just killing us, let's say. Could we take X amount of funds from the community pools, stake it, and just use the rewards for server upkeep? There's lots of different avenues to take, but personally, like without sounding too cocky, I guess, like I'm so confident in the need for this that I think once we get it more polished and in the hands of more people, I don't think that funding is going to be a worry. I think that we're going to
I
definitely
agree.
have traction. Yeah.
Anyone who says, "Oh, well, the current websites are great. Hubble Tools is easy for anyone to use, and it's so great finding information." I think they're just living in outer space. If
They're
just
in their own little corner.
even the ecosystems that have better onboarding tools than Cosmos, even those are not good enough. And
Yeah.
you need to think about the people who should be flooding the space in the next 2 to 5 years. It's people that have actual money. It's not people that got wrecked with Terra or some other major collapse. It's people that have never dabbled in crypto before, 50 and over, 60 and over. Those are people that need an entry into the space, even if it's through somebody else. And they need to be able to look at what their where their money's going. There needs to be dashboards. There needs to be customizable dashboards like what you're saying. There needs to be nice displays of data. There needs to be just giving users the confidence to dive into this without being totally turned off by this. It's just a lack of availability and transparency. I think there's no real other way to say it right now. And it's not just
Yeah.
Cosmos, it's everywhere. Nothing is good enough right now.
Well,
So
it's like me and you have talked about a couple times in spaces and stuff where like all of Web3 is a little bit blind to how like confusing and intimidating it is for outsiders. And
absolutely.
Cosmos even more so. Cosmos is the pinnacle of that,
I think so.
right?
I think
So, yeah.
this is like a, I don't want to say it's a gray area. It's one step along the way where Cosmos is tremendously decentralized in terms of actual applications and information being spread to different chains in the ecosystem. It looks so disorganized from the outside looking in. Unless you're buried in this stuff every single day, if you don't step back and look at that, and if you can't see how disorganized this is, this looks this looks like something that's going to get hammered by regulation at some point.
This
They're
it,
like,
it, it looks like the internet in the 90s, right? Where the
right, well,
majority of people looked at it and they're like, what the hell is that? Right? Like, I'm not using email. What is that? Like, I'm not like this stuff looks so like a child threw it together who was given a computer.
yeah, it's in a
Like,
transitional state right now, and I
yeah,
think
we're
the
Web
fact that we're
1.0 prior to Google.
yeah,
Yep.
the fact that we're in a bear market, I think we're lucky. But I think most ecosystems that get their if they could make the front facing display, let's call it, for their ecosystem resemble what traditional investors are used to seeing when they go to whatever the Chase Bank website or the Fidelity or the whatever website, that is the best chance you have to turn people's just like their view of crypto and web3 from the start. I do not think it will get done with, like, you go to a website, you can't even find out who built the damn the blockchain. Like, there needs to be a company or at least a person there, and it's so hard to find that on a lot of these ecosystem websites. And Cosmos is probably, I don't say it's the worst I've seen, but there's the most room for improvement because Cosmos, they've built the most, so there should be the most information there, and it's just not happening right now.
Yeah, so like I guess one thing I'll shout out to people out there listening is we've got a lot of questions of like what should we put on our index page for Interchain Info, like what. And the thing I kind of reply with is like just think about if your project or you had a Wikipedia page. And so one of the things that I very much encourage people to add for doxed teams is what you just said, Joe. Like one of the sections, like at the bottom of the summary of your project on the index page, should be like a team list. Any core info, maybe your when the chain was launched, a little bit of history, but like make it so someone who just is trying to get some of that basic info about your project can go to the index page and be like, oh, cool, this is the guy behind it. This is when it was started. Here's its core use case. Here's what chain it's on, or maybe it's its own chain. Like, and here's all the links I need to go to Stake or their Twitter or whatever. Like everything you might need in one place. That's sort of
And Cosmos does have an advantage because this can come together in a hurry, because it's not up to Cosmos to put all the information about applications built on Evmos on that's their
yep.
responsibility. So, and the same thing can be said for Juno and Archway and all these other chains. They do it themselves, but Cosmos is going to be what people Google, right? Like if you Google Cosmos, cosmos.network is going to pop up. And if you go to that website, you're like, what is this? Is this like the dark web? Is this like an
Yeah.
abandoned company? Is this an unfinished application? Because a lot of the websites, you go to the website, there's no names on the website, no pictures of any people. It says the name of the ecosystem, and then it says, you know, um, paving the way into the next generation of finance, or some weird
Yeah. Some
slogan like that.
catch. Yep.
The next frontier of money, or some weird vague
Yep.
slogan,
Yep.
and that can't be an afterthought.
That's spot
um
on.
and I've seen, tapping into the $5 trillion existing markets in a
Yeah.
decentralized
Yep.
way. It's like, no, you're not.
Equities reimagined, like or whatever.
That's exactly what, trading for Web3. No, it's not. So anyway, um this is I think this is a dramatic need for the ecosystem to now. I think this would put us ahead of a lot of the ecosystems that I think are beating Cosmos right now in disseminating important information and just having that. I don't want to call it like a corporate look, but it's a business structure look where people expect to see a completed website when they Google something and they click on the first link. This is a nice hub because people might not even realize how fragmented the ecosystem is when they go to a website like this. They just think it's all one thing.
Yes.
And that's what we
Yep.
want people. That's what we want. We want people to, oh, this is all
Because
one
like
thing.
that's I think we all agree the if you were to pick one beauty of Cosmos, it's probably IBC, right? And
Yep.
so IBC provides the one like absolutely crucially needed part of the puzzle to enable what you just said, like all one big unified Web3 thing. And so in my opinion, it's been squandered. We have IBC, it's the one crucial need, and we haven't done anything else to foster this feeling of unity. And so
And
that's what we're here for. Yeah.
and the best part is no one needs to even see it, right? Like if you keep your phone on Wi-Fi, but you're driving, you don't need to know if your phone's on the Wi-Fi or it's using the network. It should be
Can I
switching back and forth between those two things seamlessly.
can
And
I
that's
give you
what,
an example?
sure.
Like Kepler makes so much money, right? They charge a decent amount. The people, the chains that add to their list, they're the primary wallet.
Right.
What you just said about people not needing to know exactly what's going on. So, like, I'm going to use that for an IBC thing right now. Right now, if I have Osmo on Juno network and I want to send that to Evmos, I can't. I have to go back to Osmosis first, right? Because that's how IBC works.
I route
Why
everything
the
through.
hell? Why the hell has Kepler not implemented something like Osmosis has when you're trying to do swaps that don't have a direct pair? So if I want to swap Atom into a weird little coin B that doesn't have a pool directly with Atom, Osmosis will still let me do that in one click by going through the Osmosis pool. Why the hell can I not send IBC coins from wherever I want to whatever chain, and what goes on under the hood? Let's say I'm a new user. I don't need to know that IBC can only go between the two parent chains. Just do that in the background. Send that Osmo to Osmosis and then to Evmos for me, and I don't need to know that's what's happening.
I have a friend.
User,
I have a friend who buys NFTs on Solana, and he's like, "Listen, Phantom Wallet works better than any other wallet I've ever used. Why can't Kepler work that good?" I said, "Well, Kepler's, you're juggling like 30 blockchains. It's just not going to be that good." He goes, "People don't care. It needs to work that good." And I'm like, "You're right," but in my head, I understand what's happening.
Yeah, you wrote it off as the way things work.
I'm like, well, this is still pretty damn good. I could deal with 30 blockchains with one wallet and a couple of clicks. He's like, it's not as good as the best one or the easiest one to use. So
yeah. Like I don't know how that's not implemented yet.
So anyway, it has to be, every app should aim to be the best one, even if it's not realistic immediately. And
totally.
And I was like, well, it can't be as good as this because this one is simple, but too bad.
See, I feel like Kepler's gotten lazy because they have such a market leading Cosmos that they don't feel the need to innovate and compete with something like Phantom Wallet, right?
Yeah. I mean,
don't even get me started, Wolfman. Don't get me started. Kepler killed Starname. Kepler literally just killed a project. Starname is a chain that's been around the Cosmos forever. When I first got into Cosmos, I used Cosmos Station app. I bought a bunch of Starnames because I had multiple wallets. I can move funds between those wallets with such ease. Then I got onto Twitter, saw that Kepler was the main wallet everyone used for desktop D apps, and I was like, wait, Starname doesn't work here? So you're telling me that this company Kepler has decided Starname will not succeed? They killed him.
Yeah, I stayed out of that whole thing. I don't even understand what really happened. So that's a whole nother
yeah.
Oh, I got one fan. Bryson Branch. Appreciate it, dude. Valentine's Day is coming up.
Yeah.
I'm about to send you an NFT.
You know what? How nice. I thought you were going to say, I'll give you my address. You can show how much you love me on Valentine's.
No. DM me on Twitter. I'll send you something today. Actually, I got something for you. Anyway, I think this is a great overview. People should check out the governance hub or forum, whatever you want to call it, where the proposal's up. Obviously, you're going to need some help, but people can weigh in and at least ask questions to a person who's going to answer them. So
I do have one other call out for people.
Sure, your mic is cutting in and out. If you want to quick fix that, so you can get that out.
I'm just gonna hold it right here. How's that?
Didn't fix the problem. No.
Wow, it's like touching my lips.
I think it sounds like it's the wire. I don't know.
Yeah, it very well could be. Apologies.
Oh, that's a little better. That's a little better.
Okay,
it's a little better.
Plug, I guess. The one other thing I'd urge people to get involved with is on the Spark IBC Discord. We just opened up. Discord has a cool forums feature, so kind of like Reddit or Commonwealth forums. We had some forums set up that was used for closed beta testing for Interchain Info that we just open now. So what we want to use that for is building alongside the community. So as we develop stuff internally, we have questions like, should we do it this way or that way? Let's ask the community, and we want to do it there. So right now, there's already one question posted about how we should handle validator pages on the index. So if you head to Spark IBC's Discord, you'll see on the left-hand side bar there's a forum channel somewhere. We'd love for people to keep an eye on that, weigh in. Feel free to bring up questions there or leave feedback. But also weigh in with us on the team when we directly ask you guys how you want to see things work.
No, cool. That's a whole nother thing, right? How to organize a list of validators in any context. But
yes.
I'm sure that there'll be someone that comes in there that just has the idea that's been since I've come into the ecosystem, that's been the recurring conversation. So that's a whole nother live stream for
Totally.
UIs to display validator list. So anyway, I appreciate you jumping on here. I'm sure people that are interested in the prop and interested in seeing this work, or just people that are going to use it for sure, will be happy to hear the info. And you are very forthcoming with the info, telling us how it has to go down for this to get up and running and maintained before
Yeah.
you can, make it sustainable on your end with the different ways that we talked about. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no, this has been awesome. I think we like just kind of speed ran through like so many really good points. I think this was like super efficient in breaking down a lot of info about something that has a lot of info to go through. So I appreciate it, like everyone watching bared with us and you for taking this time. But
Yep.
yeah,
No problem. And
this
we'll catch up
great.
again. We'll catch up again maybe when this goes on chain. That would be awesome.
Yes, totally. We'll definitely do that. And I'll do some more Twitter spaces and stuff like that to walk people through our roadmap, answer questions. And like I said, DMs are always open. The Discord forums are there. So feel free to get involved, give your insight, give your feedback and suggestions. Like we love to work with the community on this.
Cool. And again, I could keep updating the links, or whatever you send me, I'll put them down below. But thanks again, man.
Cool. Sounds good, man. Well, I'll catch you on the next one, I guess.